Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is Iconic Women. And we're going to be talking to someone who actually is part of something that's been a huge motivator for me in my life. It's called Solidcore. In 2018, a friend told me that this new workout had moved into this Bryn Mawr shopping center in Pennsylvania, and I decided to try it. And I had no idea at the time the impact that it would have on my life. And so we're going to be talking to someone who coaches this. This is part of what her legacy is that she's leaving to this world, for people to find inner strength as well as physical strength. So I'd like to introduce my guest for today. She is actually, as I mentioned, a coach for Solidcore, and her name is Ilda Hadziosmanovic. Let's welcome her to the program. How'd I do on the name, by the way?
That was amazing. I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Well, thank you. There's some loud noise going on outside of the studio, so I apologize for that. So, Ilda, what you do has made such a difference in so many lives. I'd love to hear what it is that brought you to Solidcore, and then we'll go into what Solidcore actually is.
So when I moved here from Canada a couple years back, I got introduced to Solidcore to take a class on Thanksgiving. And I was like, oh, I've never done group fitness in that sense before, especially reformer Pilates. And I went in there open mind, and I was amazed of the pace of the class, the intensity, just Solidcore in general. And that's what brought me back. And then the second time brought me back third. Fast forward, I got a membership. And then I remember telling my husband that I would love to coach. I used to coach when I was in high school. I was a gymnastics coach, so it's always been a part of my life. So when I saw an ad pop up for Marlton, I was like, wow, that's a sign. And then I applied. And at the time I was working at Jefferson, I was doing research in the lab. I get a call while I'm at work, and I run to the bathroom to see who it is. And it was the talent acquisition saying that I've made it on to training, which was amazing. And I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunities that I've had through Solidcore.
Well, congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing that story with us. I really do appreciate it. So for those who don't know, and I'm going to let you go into a little bit more, but I'll just give it from a client's perspective. Solidcore is basically a workout that's on a reformer machine that's called Svetlana. And so one side is attached to a platform with springs and the other side is not attached. And then there's these beautiful handles, and then there are these cables, and then there are these dumbbells. And so it's a full body workout for 50 minutes when they call it under the blue lights. So how would you elaborate on what I just described?
So Solidcore is a high intensity, low impact workout. So like you said, the entire 50 minutes takes place on your custom built reformer, which was known as Svetlana before. Like you said, there's two major components to it. You have the two platforms and then the one unstable surface, which is your carriage. Now, depending on what side of the reformer you're on, is dependent on the intensity of the exercises you will be doing. Now, a regular class, whether that's a starter, a foundations, a signature, you take part in all four categories, which is your core, your obliques, lower, and upper. And then there are different classes, different types, which will either take one category out or add in breaks for your starter classes, as well as those power 30s.
Love the descriptions. Thank you so much. And what you may know or may not know is that I actually auditioned at Solidcore to become a coach. And this was during the pandemic. I did a video workout and sent it in, and I got the job. And then, of course, when the pandemic was over, I had to go and audition in person, and I didn't get the job. And then I tried out again, and I did not get the job. So I got great feedback. I was really good on the mic and everything else, but it wasn't meant to be. And so I have a lot of respect for you and all the Solidcore coaches around the US, which right now my understanding is Solidcore is primarily in the US, but there are plans to expand. Is that correct?
Plans to expand globally, I'm not 100% sure, but I know that currently we are expanding within the US immensely.
Yeah, and I've been trying to go to as many studios as possible. So let's now focus on you as a coach and your role. So for people who are not aware, the lights are dimmed, and then there's blue lighting that is around the floor, and there's very loud music on purpose, and then you are talking literally the entire 50 minutes plus the 10 minutes in between the class. You're actually talking to people on the way out and talking to people on the way in. So where do you get all of that energy just from a voice perspective to be able to project your voice for that amount of time?
I think that was the largest learning curve, was maintaining speech for 50 minutes and trying very hard to not let pauses come in between. Depending on what's happening in the room, you're trying really hard to maintain pretty much a script on what class is going to be, what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it. Um, in terms of my voice, I found that at the beginning of my coaching experience, I was having a lot of trouble understanding how to properly project my voice without harming my voice. So I found that at the beginning, I was losing my voice often. But I think since I have been doing it for 7, 8 months now, and I've also been coaching multiple classes throughout the day, I think I've just become accustomed to my voice projecting. And I try my hardest when I am at home to do a little bit of vocal rest and to take care and the fluids and the teas. And obviously, I learned the hard way, but there's no need to be projecting and yelling when I'm already on that mic that's projecting for me.
Yes, it's a tool that used to your advantage. So you're very fit yourself.
Thank
So
you.
you also take class. So how many classes do you typically teach in a week, and how many will you personally take?
So right now, depending on what it was, so for solid days, I was coaching somewhere between 25 and 30 classes. I was on a roll. But my usual, how many days I'm on schedule, is 13 classes. So I'll coach 13 classes in a week, 5 days a week. And then I will usually try to take anywhere between 2 and 4 classes, depending on what my body needs. Also, I know this is probably not the best to say, but depending on what the muscle focuses are, also drives me into taking class.
That is a lot of classes, my friend. Good for you. That's amazing. So when the lights are dimmed and you're doing your thing and the music is playing, are you focused mainly on giving the routine, what's coming next, and also on people's form? I mean, there's a lot to think about in a short time. How are you managing it?
I think at the beginning, when I first got hired, it was more, okay, you're learning the basics, you're learning on what you need to say, those modifications, the amplifications, as well as taking care of 18 clients that are on these reformers. But I think as time has progressed, for example, now, my major aspect is looking at clients and ensuring that one, they're doing the right thing, but also that they're in proper form. The last thing I want is for somebody to hurt themselves because I'm so focused on what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. So I feel like I've stemmed away from that, but I think it's because I've built such a good foundation in terms of that script that now I'm able to focus on other aspects of clientele while under the blue lights.
Thank you for sharing that. And Ilda, how are the routines put together? Are you given a structure or do you come up with it yourself?
So, for the beginning, for the first 3 months, you're given a one set of sequences that we are able to use. There's a whole bunch of rules that go into sequencing. For example, whether you're using the same oblique or the same leg, there's rules how long you should be on your forearms rather than up on your hands, which goes into that whole sequencing ruling. And then sequences are always provided to us. So for right now, I do use set sequences, and we also are all provided with a sequence of the day. So every single day, every single month, coaches are provided with a sequence that is made by HQ that we can use, that one follows those sequencing rules, but also changes the pace of class.
Brilliant. And in the 50-minute workout, how is that time structured? So we've got core, we've got obliques, we've got an upper body, we've got a lower body. How much time is typically spent in each section?
Depends on what the muscle focus is of upper and lower will decipher the length of your core and of your obliques. So for example, when it's a leg wrap day and an arm wrap day, meaning where you're working your biceps, your triceps, chest or back, and then you're working your outer and your inner thighs and glutes, that takes up a good chunk of time. So you'll find that your core might be anywhere between 8 minutes, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. And then your obliques will tend to be a little bit shorter on that 4 to 6 minute mark as well. But something like a shoulder day is super short, around 5 minutes at the end of class. And then let's say it's shoulders and inner thighs, two muscle groups that don't require much time. You'll find that your obliques and your core will be a little bit lengthier.
All right. And for people who have never taken a solid core class, what kind of results can they expect and how often should they be taking class?
Personally, I find that it all depends on the person. It depends on what your goals are. We have people who are strictly solid core clients. They don't do anything else on the side, and they'll take anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 classes a week. Um, then we have people who mix it in with traditional strength training, people who are athletes, and take it on the side just for a little bit of change up. I find just like any workout, there is a part in you that will plateau. You'll find maybe when you start off, you take that one class a week. Maybe you do that for a month or two. Then you'll find that you're looking for more, that your body's looking for more. So then maybe you do the two, then the three, and it all depends on the person. But Solid Core's goal in general is for you to build the strongest version of yourself, whether that's physical or mental, emotional, spiritual. You'll find that when you're under those blue lights, you have no time because it's so dark and because it's so loud. There's nothing going through your head besides that workout. And I think that's what makes Solid Core so different and so effective is that you are so intertwined in that workout that it allows you to really let yourself take off from the outside world and whatever it is that you're going through.
That is such a great point because the music is so loud and it is so dark that you really can't think about anything else except what you're doing. So, way back, I think it was 2013, correct me if I'm wrong, Anne Malum actually founded Solidcore. And so I still follow her on social media. I actually had the pleasure of taking one of her classes in the Boca area, and it was amazing. And so for a woman who, at her age, I think was in her 30s or 40s, and then to be able to sell out for her stake in the company, but yet still stay involved, it's always fascinated me. And so, do you find that more women are coming to do this workout, or is it, how would you say in terms of gender, it's mostly the people who are taking class?
So, predominantly, at least in Marlton, throughout the city as well. From what I've coached, I don't know other coaches what their clientele is looking like, but I have majority women. I do have male clients that come in every so often. Usually the male client will either come on their own or they're accompanied by a girlfriend, a wife, a friend, and they come together, which I hope one day more male clients do take class. I have found that my husband, his friends, when they have taken class, it was a little bit life altering because I think solid core Pilates in general, Pilates like exercises have this image of being woman owned. Predominantly women are in that field, women are taking the classes. And then I think, as cliche as it is to say, male find this exercise to be a little bit less their route. But then when they come and take the class, I feel every single male client I've had has been surprised, pleasantly surprised, and they've said that it's been much more difficult than they were anticipating and that it's driven them to come back because of that difficulty.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I've brought a number of people over the years to Solidcore, but one person I didn't bring, he actually was next to me. He was an NFL football player who was taking the class, and the music's so loud so you can't hear people talking or breathing. And there was a power failure, and the music went out, and the guy was crying. He literally was crying during the workout. And there was part of me that I thought, you know what? If an NFL football player thinks this is hard, that really says a lot. So let's go into your role as a coach. So as you mentioned, you have 18 machines, 18 reformers, 18 people potentially if the class is full. And so you have to have eyes on everyone because we're moving quickly. We might have to go from the gray side to the black sides, etc. So what are you looking for each person to ensure that they have the right form and that they're not going to get hurt? That's a lot to look for.
So before class begins, all coaches are given a list, of course, their attendance list of what clients are in the class. And alongside the clientele will say how many classes they've taken. So clients are split up into categories. You have your first timers, people who have never taken class before. You have your new clients who are about 10 classes and under. Then you have your clientele after that. It kind of goes like your spring load, right? Under 25 classes, 25 to 50, and then the 50 plus. And just like anywhere, somebody who has more experience, who is more progressed through solid core, of course, a coach is still going to pay attention to these clients. But if you have a first timer, if you have a lot of new clients, those are the clients that are more on your radar in terms of who will always have your eye. Whether you're in the front row, back row with one client, with another, you're looking out for these clients. Also, these are clients who you might have to come and change their springs for them. You might have to remind them what the exercise is looking like rather than a veteran client who has been around, for example, like yourself, 1,000 classes. You hear a cue, you know what you're doing. So there's not so much hand holding that has to go with clientele who have these amount of classes. But that doesn't mean that a coach isn't on the lookout even for clients with 2,000 classes, 3,000. There's always a way to make clients better. There's always a way to challenge clients, whether that's you see that a client is absolutely whizzing through a lunge, a platform lunge. You come over, you give them a dumbbell. That's means that the client and the coach have that relationship, but the coach is also having enough time to be looking at every single client in that room and quickly providing themselves an idea of, okay, how can I help you in terms of making this easier for you, in terms of maybe this is too challenging, how can I make this more accessible rather than easy? But also for those clients that are looking for more of a challenge, how do I challenge you to make this the most effective workout for you?
And I really admire what you just talked about when you have new clients. I've been in different studios because I've traveled to a number of them, and it'll be, oh, we've got 7 new people today. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how is the coach going to get to all these 7 people? Because my understanding is you are supposed to show up early. People don't show up early. They're coming in as the class is about to start. And then you have to get them familiar with the machine, and they've never been on it before. So anticipating that people will show up late as first timers, that's got to be stressful. How do you manage that?
Personally, I've always taken it with a grain of salt. I know that when I was a client for the first time, I mean, I did come in early, and as we do encourage clientele to come early, whether it's your first class or not, it's nice to get yourself situated, to stretch, to listen to the coach give a little bit of a brief rundown on what will happen for your 15 minutes. But, you know, things happen, traffic happens, people come in late. To our best abilities, it's being there to help. Of course, like I said, there's 17 other people there. A coach's job is not to just stand by the new client, it's to provide a good experience for all 18 people. But obviously, those first timers, what I try to do is stand close by, a little bit of hands on correction for the first couple reps just to make sure their body is going alongside the exercise. So they're not only hearing the cue. So there's the visual aspect, there's the physical aspect, but then there's also the auditory aspect. So all clients learn the same, just as people learn differently. Some people are more hands on, some people are visual, some people are just hear it and they get it. So it's just understanding. And as you go through a couple reps with a client, you'll understand, okay, their best learning is when you're hands on the client. Another client might find it most effective when you're in front of them and you're showing them, or the client next to them, they peek over and they're like, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. Perfect. And that's why usually it's best when a new client comes in a little bit earlier, because a coach should place them between clients who have a little bit more classes under their belt, as this will provide them that experience to be able to look over and be like, okay, that's what that's supposed to look like. How do I mimic that?
Congratulations on all that. That is a lot to accomplish. Let's bring up the website now. We are getting a number of questions from people asking if we can describe what the workout looks like. So here's the machine. And what is this pose that this person's doing right now?
Right now, this is a side plank, so it's over on the gray side. Like you can see that they're against the spring load. You can actually see a little bit of the gray strap too, but the cables are over on that side, and that can give you a little cue. So when you're over on the gray side, you're working against the resistance of your springs. That's why exercises over on the gray side tend to be a little bit more challenging, because you have that added on resistance.
All right, let's scroll down. Thanks for describing that.
You're welcome.
So people can purchase a membership. And by the way, I'd like to say Solidcore is not sponsoring this program. Just so you know, you have me, who is a diehard advocate, and you have Ilda, who is a coach. So if you're interested in learning more, you can download the Solidcore app. And you can also go to their website, which is solidcore.co. And there's a bunch of information here. So Ilda, here's something that I really am interested in. So I am traveling, and I just finished my 1,102nd class at the Reston studio. And so every coach has a different personality. And so there's one coach specifically who it's almost like you are going to watch a Broadway show in New York. It's just like it's a performance. So how would you describe your personality when you're coaching?
I find I'm the coach that I said I never wanted. I found that through my experience. I find that I mimic my favorite coaches. I try to, at least, and that's why us as coaches, we're encouraged to take classes between different coaches, because you can always learn something from everybody at all levels. But in terms of myself, I find that one, I think I'm pretty bubbly. I think I chat a lot. I try to throw in a joke or two here, but I also have that assertiveness to me. Especially, you'll find when it's cutting near the end of a portion of class, you're cutting near the end of your lower body. That's when I find that I begin to push a little bit more. And it's just because I think that it's most effective when clients aren't really given an option. This is where you fight for the toes. This is where you do it. This is how you close it off. You throw in a little bit of motivation, a little bit of assertiveness, and clients tend to do it. Um, I find that I don't react much to coaches who kind of let you do whatever. If you want to be on the knees, you may be on the knees. If you want to be on the toes, that doesn't give me the push that I need. So I find that, okay, that's how I'm responding. I try to give that to clients as well. I try to be a little bit more on the pushy side, but not the aggressive where it's like, okay, whoa, that was mean. It's more of the, okay, she's pushing me. She's making me challenge my way of thinking. I want to do this. I want to try at least.
I'm smiling just listening to what you're saying about toes and knees. And so, for people who don't know, if you think about that machine that we just showed the image, you can start out on your knees and your forearms. You can start on your toes and your forearms. And I just had this conversation with someone after class. I think it was yesterday. And she said, you were on your toes the entire time. And I said, yes, I was. And she said, well, how do you do it? I said, I don't want to do it. It's not easy, but that's the work. And so, a shift that I've seen from when I started in 2018 until today is, it used to be, and maybe it's just the studios that I was going to, or I do go to, because I drop in on a number of them. It used to be that if you were not on your toes and your elbows, the coach would call you out. And now what I hear a lot more is, like, for example, if we're going to do a low plank, a low extension, I'm sorry, you can drop to your knees. And I always wonder, like, why give people the option instead of saying, okay, you keep coming, why aren't you on your toes? So this woman was asking me this, and I said, I believe I've been on my toes for the last 2 years. Like, I refuse to go down to the knees. So the question is the mindset that the workout's so hard that you need to cue breaks, even though I know people say there are, we don't cue breaks, but
Yeah.
is it so hard that you want people to keep coming back? So you have to say, okay, if you have to drop down to your knees, do so.
So Solidcore has changed drastically since it's first become group fitness and as it's progressed to today. And that is mainly focusing on even the coaching style. Before coaches, the training wasn't as excessive and intense as it is now. Um, and that's because coaches were given a little bit more free will to say what they wanted and how they wanted. And you'll find now that no matter what location you go to, there is some sort of structure that all coaches are supposed to follow. And that includes giving people the opportunity to modify or to amplify, right? At the end of the day, we like to say showing up is the hardest part. You devoted those 15 minutes to come and work out. What does that mean to you? Sometimes I personally like being pushed so hard that I have to come down on the knees, that I have to. I have no other choice because my body's going to shut down, that I come down to the knees. But some clients, that's the gateway of even starting, is being provided the opportunity. Okay, let me start off on the knees and let me build my way up, because solid core already in itself is a little bit intimidating, so I've heard. I found it intimidating when I first started too. And as a way of making it more attractive to the general public of all fitness levels, you have to provide clients with the opportunities to start off in the modifications and work their way up.
Thank you for explaining that. So I'd like to turn to the synchronization and the timing. You are talking the entire time, and there's 50 minutes to get everything done. And I always think to myself, I'm always trying to predict what the next movement's going to be. But I think, how do you stay on point? How do you stay on time? Are you looking at your watch? I've seen some coaches when they just start, they're going back to the little setup area and they're looking through something. But how do you make sure you get each of those workouts in terms of, you might be doing the right leg and then you're running out of time, you didn't do the left leg? Like, how does that all work?
Well, I mean, I use my Apple Watch, and it's not that I'm constantly looking down at it. It's become that second nature. And I think from the beginning, when we would practice, especially in training and memorizing these sequences, you just get into the flow. By the time you explain the exercise, you go through the modifications, the amplifications, it's probably already been a minute. So you know, okay, I have another minute left for this exercise. That's where you go into a little bit of science. You go into a little motivation. You add in those variations, the holds, the pulses, and then you'll know, you can tell on a client's face when they've been in an exercise too long. We also do have max amount of times that you are supposed to be in an exercise, whether that's in a plank, whether that's in any core exercise, obliques, upper, lower. There is a time limit, not just because of the tension that it would leave on your body and the strain, but it's also, you get bored. If you're holding, if you're in a plank extension for 3, 4 minutes, you're bored, you know? And that's why the 2 minutes, especially in center core, throughout all exercises, it's good. It keeps you on your toes. You're constantly swapping and it keeps the exercise fun, but it also gives you the most opportunity through class.
I don't know that I've ever been bored during obliques, but I've been like, please let this end. Let this pain end. Let's talk about muscle failure, first stage and second stage. What does this mean, and what should we be trying to achieve as clients?
So first stage muscle failure, we tend to say it feels like when you get that little burning sensation, you know, you're like, ooh, it's getting there. You might feel like a little bit of that tear. Nothing's tearing. But that's the sensation of first stage muscle failure. So this is good, but Solid Core's goal is to get you to second stage muscle failure, which is where you get shaky, where you need to stop to shake it out before you hop back in. Now, Solid Core doesn't want to focus on clients reaching that third stage muscle failure where you're done, you need to be airlifted out of the studio. That's not what we want clients to achieve. It's more getting the best workout to the point where you shake, and you'll know when you're in a hold, you'll look down at your knee, your thighs shaking, you'll be down in a squat, your glutes are shaking, you're in an oblique. You have to come down to the knees because your body's telling you, okay, enough, let's drop it down. And that's our goal. And that's how we as coaches want to provide every client with that opportunity. And that's what variations are there for. You'll find through your full range of motion, yes, you are getting to first stage muscle failure just by going through the full range. But as soon as you get to the holds and the pulses and the kicks, and that's where that push, the intensity tends to increase, and that's what brings you to that second stage muscle failure.
We love the second stage muscle failure, that is for sure. I know for myself, I actually have to mentally gear up before I walk into the studio because I know the workout's going to be challenging, and I'm going to take every amplification that I can without worrying about the fact that I could fall off the machine, because you can literally, I mean, it could happen. So my question for you is, as this workout has been designed just overall, is it for a certain age range, or is it just for anyone?
I think solid core is for anyone, especially the way that it has been modified. With those modifications and amplifications, it gives people range. Also, you have those starter classes for people who are just getting into solid core. You have foundation classes, which the lights are up a little bit higher and the music's not as loud. You're going through the same range, that same 50 minutes, no pauses, but a coach here will focus more on getting you into proper form, into the science, into what your body is doing, that muscle to mind. And you'll find that the foundation classes will also provide people who are just coming back from an injury, postpartum, who aren't sure that they are ready yet for those signature classes. It still gives them a gateway into solid core. Then you have that regular signature class, but then you also give clients the opportunity for more advanced classes. You have those focus 50s where you take out a muscle group and you spend more time in the other three. You have advanced 65s, which gives clients a little bit more advanced and challenging exercises that you will not see first time clients in.
And I just took one of those advanced classes, and it's nothing to it's hard. It's really hard. So I want to talk about evolution of fitness. So I started out years and years ago doing what was known as Bikram yoga, and I would sometimes do doubles, and I was very lean. And so I started doing solid core and a lot less of yoga. Now I don't really do yoga at all. And now I'm very, very strong, but I'm not as lean as I used to be. And so what can people expect? Obviously, your diet makes a difference, but if you're in Solidcore and you're coming 3, 4, 5, et cetera, a number of times a week, and you're doing amplifications, you will definitely get stronger. So, what can people expect as a result of being a loyal client?
We tend to say, every body's different. Some people's bodies respond one way, while another person's body responds the other. Some people will notice a drastic difference in their bodies within the first 2 weeks of taking class, whether that's focusing on the tone of certain muscles, while other clients won't find that until well beyond into their time at Solid Core. But I think it's less about the actual physical aspect of what your body looks like, but it's more of like you're saying, you come in there, you feel stronger. I'll tell clients when you first start off, you'll notice maybe you leave with a little bit of lower back pain, and that's because your core is lacking strength. All of a sudden, your form is on point. You're holding a plank on your toes for the entire 60 seconds. You know you're getting stronger. You may not see the results, but you feel those results, especially when you're there. You'll notice that maybe you're taking more of those amplifications because you can challenge yourselves, and that's all because you are getting stronger. And I find that solid core, especially, we have those muscle focuses, right? So every single day you're focusing on a different aspect of the body. Solid core focuses on muscles that traditionally you aren't really using when you're at the gym, um, just because, something like your quads. We're quad dominant people, so there's no point of focusing on the quads predominantly in a class when you're walking, you're talking, you're using those muscles. Other than the inner thighs, for example, the inner thighs don't have much functionality. We don't use the inner thighs as people. I like to say, unless you're giving people headlocks between the thighs. I don't know what people are doing at home, but you'll notice when you do the inner thighs, it doesn't take long for you to get to second stage muscle failure. Unlike something like the center glute, that's a lot larger, that is utilized day to day, takes a little bit more.
Really comprehensive overview. Thank you. You really know what you're doing. I want to talk about the mental strength that comes from doing this workout. And I was taking most of my classes in Boca. I was taking care of my mother, and she had dementia. It was really difficult to be the full-time caregiver. And I would go into Solidcore, and when the lights would come down and the workout would get really hard, sometimes I would actually cry. I don't know if the coaches knew or not. But you build this incredible mental strength. So where does that come from?
I think I've cried before while taking class too. I've always been the type of person, oh, thumbs up, to push myself to that point, not to the point where it's like I want to give up, but to the point where I know, and I know all my clients are capable of doing hard things. And showing up and doing these things just proves it to you. I think the mental strength, I tend to touch on it a lot in class. Yes, there's this thing called mind over matter. Absolutely. But the body is also such a strong entity that people don't understand that sometimes shutting off your mind, and that's the whole point when you're there, turning off those lights, turning up the music, lets your mind take a break, and it gives you an opportunity to let your body do its thing. And you'd be surprised just how strong your body is. And then that gauges into your mental strength because you're like, whoa, I didn't know I was capable of doing these things. And then you do it and you're like, wow, I'm way stronger than I think. And that then hones into that mental aspect where you show up and you're like, you know what, I've done this. I know I can do it and I'm going to do it. Whether I'm on my knees in the modified, whether I'm on the toes, whether I grab a dumbbell today or not, I'm here. And that's me showing up for myself, not only physically, but mentally as well.
Absolutely. I've taken your class many times. You were an outstanding coach.
Thank
And
you.
when I asked you if you would be interviewed, you said yes. And I was so excited because Solidcore is such a big part of my life. So this is a really beautiful moment. I'd love to have you share where you're going from here. What will your journey look like with Solidcore and outside of Solidcore?
So solid core right now is my pride and everything. I've really indulged myself not only into the workout but into the coaching experience. I haven't been here much longer, much long in comparison to other Marlton coaches, other coaches in the city who have been here 8+ years. I'm still under my 1 year mark, but I try to coach as many classes and meet as many clients as I can just to build my coaching experience. I also tend to touch base with other coaches, people who are of different rankings than I am, with HCCM, Jess, with the ones in the city like Jill. I like to touch base with them. There's also area managers. We have Will, who I tend to discuss things with, Matt, who's in Philly. Then we have training managers. So actually, this weekend, I'm going and helping train the new set of coaches. And that's because I just want to see what the training process is like as a coach. So I remember being the newbie and getting the training taught, but I want to see what it's like being the veteran coach coming in and giving my side to clients. And I think Solidcore is so amazing because this company provides us with so much opportunity and so much gateway and paths. And it's up to the coaches. Some coaches are content with just coaching and staying at the same level. Some people want to work their way to being a head coach. Some people want to be managers. Some people want to go into the product of the machine, of the exercises. And Solid Core gives us the opportunity to find our path and see what best suits us.
You've hit on so many important points. I think one thing that Solidcore is really great at doing is creating community. There's that, hey, give the high five to your neighbor. There's a lot of encouragement for people to get to know one another. And so I feel that community spirit, and something that they've done from a marketing perspective, I think is brilliant with the Solidays. The Marlton studio was brand new. And I remember when I moved from Boca and I first came to South Jersey, there were not very many clients there. And now the classes, I think, especially through Solidays, they were booked. And you did something really tremendous and amazing. Tell us what that was. When the classes were all full, what did you do?
So we have these things called Power 30s that in the city they were being utilized, and especially during Solidays, you know, I saw HCCMs reaching out to coaches saying, "Hey, if anyone wants to coach Power 30s, please let us know." And I was like, well, Marlton, we have all those gaps. I don't mind staying extra. And I remember texting Jess and I was like, hey, Sundays, I'm for staying the extra 30 minutes. Hey, on this day, I'm for coming in 4 in the morning, because clients were DMing me, telling me after class, like, it's impossible to get in. I need to hit my 10 classes. So I was like, okay, these locations are doing it. We should be doing it. And then at first, a lot of coaches were like, oh, 4 a.m., that's crazy. But then the momentum kicked off and everybody wanted to be a part of it. And I think it was amazing, the amount of clients we had, the amount of coaches that were taking those extra steps to make clients happy, to have everybody hit the goals that they want to hit.
I really admire you for doing that. I think that is outstanding. And for people who haven't taken Solidcore as of yet, if you think about a very challenging workout and you will be at the studio at 10 of 4 to start, that's how you're starting your day. Or you're coming at the very end of the day knowing you're already exhausted and you're going to do this workout. That's the kind of commitment that Solidcore coaches have and that Solidcore clients have, in my opinion.
I agree. What an incredible community. I think it's also the clientele. I'm speaking for myself. I think a lot of coaches can speak on it. The clients make it worth it. And I find that Marlton, like you're saying, has this sense of community where clients will stay after and chat to you. Clients will ask questions, whether it's about Solid Core or even about yourself. People will ask, oh, what days are you here? Oh, I was here on vacation. And then you touch base, and that's how you build these connections and you meet people. For example, me meeting you was such a gift because there's other clients who do such incredible things outside of the studio that I think it's incredible to be a part of their day to day or even a part of their weekly schedules.
Thank you for saying that. I really enjoy speaking to the coaches and staying after. And so you and I have had a lot of great conversations. And here in Reston, I was called by three different people since I've been here an OG. And I actually had to look it up. And I was like, what does that even mean? I guess because I started from the very beginning. But knowing your passion for this and what a great communicator you are, and how effectively you deliver your routines, I just want to thank you for all that you've done for me and for everyone in the Solidcore community. And I'd love to know, what are your favorite Solidcore movements?
Thank you so much for saying that. Okay, when I first got hired, I said a plank to pike was my favorite. Well, that was a lie. I think it was at the beginning, but as I've progressed, um, for example, in core, I love an extension exercise. I think working anything like that transverse abdominis humbles you. It's a lot harder than it looks. And then right now, I've been loving a glute bridge for a center glute day. Outer glutes is my favorite lower body extremity to be working. But there's so many to pick from. In terms of upper body, I love a supine biceps curl. That's the best. You can put on heavy weight, makes you feel so accomplished, and you get to lay down. So,
I love the part lying down. So, Ilda, tell us, as we're coming towards the end of our show, what is it you like to do when you're not coaching?
that's a great question. I find that when I'm not coaching, if I know I'm coaching later that day, I'm going over my notes. I know, nerdy. But if I'm not doing anything with solid core, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning. That's about it. Solid core is my full-time job. So I'm very grateful that I'm able to just do that and I'm flexible enough to make solid core my full-time career and my hustle. So it makes me want to improve because I have that free time to better myself as a coach.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'd love for you, as we close out, for people out there who have made some resolutions for the new year and they haven't experienced Solidcore, or even people who are diehard workout people, athletes, it's for everyone. And again, I'm not a paid spokesperson, but I'm really passionate about this. What would you say to someone who has never heard of Solidcore and they'd like to learn more?
I think solid core is such a great opportunity to not only get a good workout in, but to meet people. You're in a room filled with people who are there to do the exact same thing that you're doing, which is to build that strongest version of yourselves and to get a good workout in. It's to dissociate for 50 minutes and do something for you. And I think solid core gives people that opportunity. And I think people need to remove that mental aspect of it, thinking that it's going to be hard. I think any workout is hard if you come in with the right intention. And I think just showing up is the best part. I think solid core, from what I've heard, I know I'm guilty of it, is a little bit of an addiction. You come that first time and you come back again. You find yourselves walking through those doors constantly. And there's just something about it that not only is the workout justifiable, but like you're saying, it's that community. It's coming there, it's the music, it's the environment, it's everything. It encaptures you as a person.
It can become a huge part of your life. And so that's, for me, I opened the app. So this is solid, where you can see the number of classes that I've completed in 7 weeks. And you might say, oh, if you're so diehard, why is it only 7 weeks? Well, I went to Europe. I went to Europe 3 times this past summer. So there's no solid core. But Ilda, I have really enjoyed this conversation and getting to know you better outside of the studio. And I want to thank you again for all the influence, motivation that you have given to me. And I want to thank you for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure not only speaking to you outside of the studio, but also giving people a little bit of insight of what solid core is.
If people want to get in touch with you, we've got your Instagram.
Yeah.
We're going to share it on the screen. Is that the best way for people to find you?
That's the best way. And then if you're anywhere in the Marlton area, finding me at the studio to talk. I don't have my email on anything, but I don't know if people really email anymore about questions like that. But yeah, sending me a DM, a message. I always see them. I have clients always messaging me and asking questions, and I'm always here to help with anything.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for all the comments that have been dropped in the various platforms today. We appreciate you watching. Ilda, have a beautiful day, and I look forward to seeing you in the studio next week when I get back.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, if you would like to find out more about Solidcore, you can go to their website or to their app. Here is the website again. It's solidcore.co, not com, but co. All the information that you need is here, where you can download the Solidcore app to learn more. And as I shared, I think I'm an unannounced brand ambassador because it is a huge part of my life. I'm going this afternoon. It's priority number one when I'm putting my schedule together. So I hope that'll help you find your own physical and mental strength. And we thank Ilda for being here on the show. If you are in the Marlton, New Jersey area, please look her up and you'll see her name, ILDA, on the schedule. All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and then we're coming back with our next show. We apologize for the noise. Apparently they're doing something with trees outside the studio. But take a look, and then we'll see you shortly for Talking Heads. Bye for now.
In a noisy world, true connection begins with listening. Elevated listening transforms every conversation in just 5 simple steps. Pause and breathe. Set your intention. Listen with curiosity. Reflect back. Agree on one next step. Join the Listening Mentor on Let's Finally Talk with Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, the Listening Mentor, where we help you find inner peace, one conversation at a time. Streaming every day, Let's Finally Talk TV show with Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, only here on USA, Global TV and Radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channels to watch and engage with all our content.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.